Good morning, everyone. My name is Ella Pepper, and today I'll be arguing against the proposition that the U.S. should require all public schools to measure student performance by universal standardized tests. Imagine sitting in a silent classroom, the clock ticking, your palms sweating, and your future being decided on a single number on a test. Now, imagine that number doesn't reflect your creativity, your hard work, or your intelligence, just how well you can take a test. Because if we measure standardized testing universally, we won't measure learning, we'll be measuring privilege, anxiety, and inequality. Standardized testing in the US began in the Industrial Revolution as a fast way to sort and rank large groups of students, according to the Pepperdine graphic 2015. What was once a tool for efficiency has turned into a barrier to equality and authentic learning. First, standardized testing doesn't measure true intelligence or ability. According to Britannica Pro-Con 2024, test scores are influenced by factors like stress, hunger, tiredness, and prior experiences, making them unreliable indicators of what students actually know. Instead of showing individual growth, these tests compare entirely different groups of students each year, giving a false picture of progress. Second, they are biased and historically rooted in racism. Psychologist Carl Brigham, who helped create the SAT, based his early intelligence tests on eugenic ideas that wrongly linked race and intelligence during World War I, also according to Britannica Pro-Con 2024. That bias hasn't disappeared. Test questions often assume white middle-class experiences. For example, one reading prompt describes someone receiving a key to the city, a concept unfair to many low-income immigrant students. Third, standardized tests favor wealth over merit. Research by Stanford sociologist Sean Redicon shows that the achievement gap between rich and poor students, has widened dramatically over the past 50 years. Also, according to the Pepperdine graphic. Wealthier families can afford private tutors, test prep, and multiple test attempts, while lower income students lack those advantages. Test scores often reflect family income rather than academic potential. Finally, these tests narrow education itself. As Rethinking Schools explains, standardized testing promotes shallow surface level problem solving. Students learn to guess multiple choice answers rather than explore, question, or think critically. Tests like the Stanford Diagnostic Reading Test reveal weakness, but never explain why a student struggles, preventing teachers from addressing root learning issues. So the need for change is clear. Universal standardized testing doesn't measure learning, it measures inequality. Instead of doubling down on a broken system, we can adopt performance-based assessments, PBAs, a fairer, more accurate way to measure student learning and growth. In Massachusetts, the MCIEA, Massachusetts Consortium for Innovative Education Assessment, uses teacher-created projects, essays, and classroom evaluations to capture real student understanding. Co-founder Jack Schneider explains that this model shows all of the things that reflect student learning and achievement, not just the narrow vision embedded in standardized testing, according to NEA today. PBAs allow students to demonstrate knowledge in multiple ways through projects, essays, art, or presentations, instead of one high-stakes test. For example, instead of answering a multiple choice question about the grass clippings and decomposition, a PBA might let students use examples from their own experience, such as leaves in a park or an apple core. Teachers in the MCIEA report lower anxiety, stronger engagement, and more equitable results, according to the NEA today. Unlike standardized exams that punish students for their background, PBAs reward critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity, the very skills schools are supposed to nurture. Now, imagine two classrooms. In one, students sit in rows, silently filling bubbles, their worth reduced to a score that says more about their zip code than their knowledge. Teachers are pressured to teach the test, and creativity disappears. In the other, students are building building, presenting, writing, and collaborating. They demonstrate growth through portfolios, experiments, and projects. Teachers act as mentors, helping them think deeply and express themselves. That's the difference between a system obsessed with the test scores and one that values authentic education. If we continue relying on the universal standardized test, we'll reinforce inequality, suppress curiosity, and continue to label students by their circumstances. But if we move forward performance-based assessments, we can build a classroom where every student, not just the wealthy or test-wise, has a fair chance to succeed. For more than a century, standardized tests have failed to measure true learning. They are biased, inequitable, and outdated. So what can we do? Support organizations like the National Education Association, NEA.org, and the Massachusetts Consortium for Innovative Education Assessment, the MCIEA, which are developing and advocating for more equitable assessment systems. Encourage students and districts to pilot performance-based modules that emphasize growth, creativity, and engagement. You can even scan the QR code on the screen to sign the NEA's petition to fairer, more inclusive test practices in the US schools. Let's stop treating test scores as the ultimate measure of success. Let's measure creativity, growth, and understanding instead, because education should be about learning, not just testing. Thank you.